All right, good afternoon and welcome to another afternoon roller derby. So first we're going to do rollouts. First we have our quad bombers who are going to start their rollout with the ground crew. So this is just a portion of the quad bombers team who are going to be guiding out the rest of their team in a second. Okay. So, welcome to our quad bombers. We have Kaboom, 100, Geosicles, 1080, Tom Bruise, 109, Inbound Bogey, 111, Merlin, 1111, Ice Lady, 1212, Full Thrust, 143, Bug Out, 175, Kamikaze, 2, Maori Viper, 28, Hollyball Spectator number 1, 29, Hollywood, 404, Kablam, 44, Smackdown, 4412, Jester, 47, Wingman, 505, Wolfman, 6, Man in Uniform, 63, Killadole, 666, and Medrick, 88. And that is your trauma queens. Quad bombers. So once our quad bombers have come into land at their bench, we'll have the next team come out. All right, next we have our trauma queens. We have Polio, 0109, Bandy Aid, 112, Ambulance, 13, Antidote. We have Surgeon, 18, Bronchitis, 21, Marco Death, 219, Rutherford, 2202, Cardiac Pain, 31, Proctologist Bum, 34, Melanoma, 368, Ultrasonic, 42, Paralysed, 55, Velocifracture, 5678, and Hurty, 94. And that is your trauma queens. Sorted and ready to play. So this is day 2 of roller derby. Oh, our refs. Sorry, can't forget the refs. So this is our ref crew. We have Sin, Frox, Vengeville, Arsehole, Pseudo Stripes, no, sorry, Vicious Assault, Sting, and Fouled Out. All right, first jam. So for those who have never been to a roller derby game before, the aim of the game is for the jammers, who are the skaters with the stars on their helmets, to score points. They score points by passing opposing players on the other team who are trying to stop them get through. The blockers will also provide some offense for their jammer to try and help them get through. So if you think about it, the players with the stars on the helmets are a little bit like the ball. So we have Kamikaze, who has lead jam, which means she gets the privilege of deciding when to stop the jam. And we get fire truck through for 4 points. Kamikaze is battling up against white team and she calls it off. So when you see a jammer making the motion of putting her hands to her hips and up and down, that's her signalling to the refs that she's calling the jam off, looking to protect points or get through the pack and earn points. So this jam, we have Ice Lady for the Trauma Queens and Bandy Aid for the white team. Both jammers are trying hard to get through, with Bandy Aid just sneaking up that inside line. So now we're seeing the quad bombers trying to do some offense for their jammer so that they can help her get through. And Ice Lady's through. So both jammers are pushing up against what we call walls in roller derby. We end up with a tripod, multiple players, trying to provide some stability and preventing that jammer getting through. With Ice Lady pushing her way through. And we've got Pesticles off to the penalty bin. So if any players break rules, the ref will send them to the bin for 30 seconds. So quad bombers will now field one less blocker for this jam, which gives Trauma Queens a slight advantage. So we have Melanoma jamming up against Hollywood, with Hollywood through, whipping around that track, followed closely by Melanoma. And jam's called off just after she gets through the pack. So score, we have 16 to Trauma Queens and 11 to Quad Bombers. And we've got a number of players who it's their first game today, which is colloquially known in the Derby world as your cherry popper. So we have Proctologist Bum up against Maori Viper. We've got some good offense happening, trying to help their jammer through before the jammer comes back round. And Maori Viper is through with the jam called. And we have Killer Doll up against Bandy-Aid. Both fighting to get through those packs in their initial pass. So jammers don't score points on the first time they go through the pack. They get through, they score, or they get awarded lead jammer if they come through, and then their second pass through is where they start to score points for every hips of an opposing player they pass. And Killer Dolls through. Some good offense there from Trauma Queens. Bandy-Aid trying to fight her way through that strong wall. Getting recycled to the back. So whenever a jammer or a player is pushed out, they have to re-enter the track at a certain position so that they don't gain position. Quite disheartening when you think you're through the pack and then someone pops around at the front and knocks you out. And jam is called. So it's a close game, 24 to Trauma Queens, 25 to Quad Bombers. All right, we have a official timeout. And we're off again. Officials sometimes call timeouts to have a think about things and make sure the game's running properly, solve any technological issues that might be happening with the scoreboard. A bit of a pile up, but we have lead issued to Melodrama, followed by Wolfman. 4 points. Just skims through, and Nova pops around as well. And jam's called. 4 points for both teams in that jam. Sometimes it's all about when you call the jam off. A lot of strategy. So this jam we have Bug Out and Velocifracture. A lot of the derby names that we're hearing today are plays on the player's actual derby name. So Velocifracture, her normal derby name is Velociraptor. So there's a lot of plays on words to do with the themes of their teams today. So Bug Out's being drawn back, as is Velocifracture. Both walls doing an awesome job holding jammers back. And Bug Out is lead. Oh, we've had a panty pass. So when a jammer gets stuck, they can take the head helmet covering, also known as panty, off their helmet and pass it to the person who has a stripe on their helmet, and they then become the jammer. And Proctologist Bum is through. And Bug Off is fighting her way through. A few players taking a tumble. Proctologist Bum through for another 4 points. Trauma Queen's Wall trying to reform to stop Bug Off getting through. She's down but through. Oh, and a little apex jump there from Proctologist Bum. Nearly taken out, and he just gets through. Both jammers fighting hard. And jam is called because it hit the 2 minutes. So jams can go for a maximum of 2 minutes. If a jammer does not call it off, the jam timer will do so. All right, we have Topper Harley up against Ambulance. Topper Hardy's through for lead, with the Trauma Queens providing some offense to help get their jammer through. So she has taken her panty off. We have to wait and see whether she performs that panty pass or whether she's just doing it for strategic purposes. And we have both jammers through. Oh, it looks like a little bit of a jammer off. And the jammer's called. Still sitting with a close score, 46 to Trauma Queens, 45 to Quad Bombers. 1 point in it. So we have Polio up against Cuzzy. Both jammers fighting through. Leads awarded to Cuzzy, with Polio just scooting around that inside line. Polio gets caught on that outside corner, that strong Trauma Queen wall. Oh, Polio's through. 4 points. Cuzzy's fighting her way through. She has some help in offense, but doesn't look like it's doing a lot at the moment. Oh, and we have Polio's coming around for another pass through. We've had a panty pass. Lady Tamatera is now, well, Ice Lady has now picked up the panty. Polio gets recycled back to the back of the engagement zone. Both packs doing really well, holding jammers back. Polio swipes through. Meds is back from the box. And just sneaks through that inside line. This is going to be a high-scoring jam for the Trauma Queens. Polio just keeps whipping around that track. And jam timer calls it at the 2 minutes. That was a massive jam. We've gone 66 to Trauma Queens. No, sorry, 62. 53 to Quad Bombers. So we have Kaboom up against Proctologist Bum. And we've stopped for an official timeout. And we're back. Lateral movements there from Proctologist Bum, back and forth across the track, trying to be quicker than his opposing teammates, trying to find a gap and a hole to get through. Kaboom's right up the front and gets through for the lead. With the fire truck from the Trauma Queens off to the penalty box, the multiplayer penalty. And Flirty, or Hurty in this case, picks up her panty pass. And Kaboom's off and calls it. Great work. Still a close game. Only 11 points in it. All you need is a couple of good power jams and that point differential will disappear. So we have Alarm Bell up against Hollywood. Alarm Bell getting through for lead. Hollywood following shortly after. Zipping around that track trying to catch up. That non-lead can catch up, get through, they'll get points before the other jam will call it off. Bandy-Aid up against Goosticles. The fun thing about these types of games for our league is that everyone gets a go at all the positions. So people that would normally only play as blockers in a normal competitive game against one of the other leagues will jump in and give jamming a go, which is what's happened here with Pesticles. She's typically a blocker, but she's doing awesome as a jammer. She's got lead. Whoa! Attempts an apex jump. Nearly gets it. So jammers can try and cut the corner at that apex if they can jump from one, land back in track, not take anyone out, then they are technically not cutting the track. Oh, and Pesticle calls it. Awesome jam from the quad bombers. So we have Polio up against Cuzzy. Oh, bit of a pile up. Polo's fighting right at the front. And Polo's off to the penalty box. So that means it's a power jam. So power jams mean that there is only one jammer on the track. And therefore, both blockers will go full defence and full offence. It's a good opportunity for the quad bombers to get some points. The jammer will be helped by her teammates. The fun thing with Derby is sometimes the offence works brilliantly, and sometimes it turns it into a bit of a washing machine. So Polio's back on track, and the rest of the blockers are a bit distracted there. Didn't see him coming. He just snuck on through. Full Thirst still has lead jammer status though. There has been a panty pass, which means that the jam will go for the full 2 minutes. And Polio's fighting his way past that quad bomber wall. And jam is called. Okay, we've got Bronchitis up against Nova, who is just using those powerful leads to push through. So some jammers, you'll see they have different styles. Bronchitis is through for lead. Some jammers are all powerful and will just push through. Others will be more agile and will dance around to find those gaps. Bronchitis is through for scoring past 4 points. Oh, bit of a pile up at the bottom end. Bronchitis through for another 4. Smack is pushing, trying to get through that strong wall. And we've got some bridging going on. So when the jammers are standing out by themselves, they're linking back to the pack. And Smack is through, adjusting her gear. She needs to put that panty on before she gets back to the pack. And jam's called. So we're sitting on a score of 85 for the Trauma Queens and 72 to the Quad Bombers. We can hear the Quad Bombers theme song over in the corner. Oh, we've got, looks like troubles. Jester, sorry, is jamming, trying to get through with Meds, with lead jammer status. We've had a panty pass. Hollywood has taken over from Trouble, and Meds calls it off for 4 points. So just over 6 minutes left of this half. Looks like there's a stoppage for some reason. Timeout. So we've also got our live streaming happening here as well. So we've got one of our league players, Sonic, who's listening at home. And we've also got someone from over in Detroit. So that's the end of that official timeout. We have inbound bogey up against proctologist bum. With proctologist bum pushing inbound bogey out. Forearm. Proctologist bum is off to the penalty box. Can't go that way. Inbound bogey, lead. She'll be looking for some help from her friends. Some good offense there by nobody. We've got two trauma queens sitting in the box. Both. And inbound bogey's through again. And she calls it off. This jam we have Bandy-Aid up against Gigs. And Gigs, both of them pushing through. Gigs bouncing around on her toe stops. Bandy-Aid's pushed outside. And Hurty back on track. Oh, look at Gigs go. A little bit of toe stop dancing on that line. It's just twinkle toes. So both jammers back and Gigs calls it off. So we're sitting at 92 to Trauma Queens, 85 to Quad Bombers. It's just a nice point from Sonic on the stream. This is our intra-league game, so that's all part of Swamp City Roller Derby. We all play together, train together, and these are our two internal teams. So some friendly competition. And looks like we have an official timeout. think we are just doing some track repairs. Oh, Shiny's got her tape box skating around the outside. Okay, and we're back to it. We have Wingman up against Melanoma. Melanoma through. Wingman's jumping back in after being hit out. Hester's doing a bit of offense for her jammer, trying to help get her through so that she can push and push. Oh, Melanoma through for 4 points. Wingman's through for her initial pass. And scoots through. Pulls it off. So we've hit the 100 mark. Trauma Queens are on 100. Quad Bombers on 85. All right, we've got Surgeon up against 143. And the teams are both starting up against the pivot line. Sometimes they come back at the what's called the jam line, the start line. Sometimes they shoot up to the end. Full thrust is your lead jammer for this jam. And we've got Hurty through, nearly being taken out by an opposing blocker. Full thrust, just sneaks through, just in front of Velocifracture. And jam is called. Get the points. So I've got Bandy-Aid. Up against Merlin. Bandy-Aid sneaks through, trying to find that gap. And Merlin is awarded lead. We have a panty pass. Proctologist bum just sneaks past nobody. And Proctologist just comes through for another for his 4 scoring points. We have a power jam. Merlin's sitting in the box, so she loses her lead jammer status, which means the jam will go for the full 2 minutes. Oh, Proctologist nearly gets through. Skate just goes across the line. Whips in front of Mary Viper. A little bit of twist and turns. Nobody's trying to stop him and draws him back. Recycles him all the way back to the back. Oh! Bit of chaos in the penalty box. Merlin's out. Proctologist bums fighting his way through. And Merlin's through for her 4 points. Quad Bombers looking to hit the front of the pack. Reform. Proctologist. Oh! Bit of a backwards roll there. Merlin's fighting to get past Hurty. Proctologist bum's looking a bit tired. He's done a lot of laps. And through for another 4 points. And that is that jam. Okay, so we are now in half time. So we will see you all in 15 minutes. Okay, we are back. 30 seconds on the clock until second half starts. And I've just noticed that Shiny, our track repair guru, they have attired themselves with an aeroplane, kitted out with track tape. Okay, first jam of second half, we have Medic Alert up against Bug Out. And we're off. Bug Out's trying to find the inside line, round the out and zips through. Medic Alert gets pushed back on that inside line. She's pushed, recycled back. Smack pulls her back to the back of the engagement zone. Scoots up through. Bug Out's also been pushed out. Has to recycle. Oh, that was a good feat of balance from Meds there. Up on her toe stops. Bug Out has lead. She's pushing her way through that pack. Pushes past Mark of Death. And both jammers are through. Jammers called off. So our scores, 116 to Trauma Queens, 101 to Quad Bombers. Still anyone's game, and it looks like we're sitting on a timeout. So this jam, we have a power jam. Meds is in the penalty box, and we have Hollywood jamming for Quad Bombers. Pushing your way through, utilising that offence. Hollywood is through, zipping around that track. Pushes up against that wall, forces the wall to the outside, then zips back in the in, gets caught by Hurdy. Bit of a... So Hurdy is off to the box for a directional penalty. Hollywood's through for her 4 points. Meds is back on track. And a little mini apex jump there from Hollywood. Those apex jumps is really lovely to watch. So we've got Proctologist Bum up against Killer Doll, with Proctologist whipping through, Killer Doll taking that inside line. Very close game. And the jam is called. So we have one in the box, the Quad Bombers. So they will start one person down. Kaboom versus Melodrama. Oh, a few skaters down there, and Melodrama's through for lead jam. Kaboom's fighting her way past Hurdy, being held up at the top end by couple last blockers. And Melanoma, is through again for 4 more points, with Kaboom now through on her initial. Nice Quad Bombers wall holding up Melanoma at the top. Big split up by her, bridging. And Kaboom just getting through. And Hurdy's back off to the penalty box. We've got Kamikaze in the box as well, so both teams are one blocker down. And another Mary Vixen in the box. We're losing players here, there and everywhere. And Melanoma calls the jam. Okay, we have jam called. Official timeout. So we're just waiting for an injured skater to be looked at. And it looks like we've got a bit of a conga line going. Led by Kellett. Fairly standard occurrence for our derby team, conga lines and dancing on track. Line is being led by Menace. And they will now zip back round to their benches. Okay. And Proctologist Bun just zips up that inside line. Full Thrust tried to do the same thing and just got knocked out. Sometimes those gaps are there, sometimes they're not. And Proctologist Bum through for 4 points, followed by Full Thrust. And with still close scores, 132 to Trauma Queens, 120 to Quad Bombers. It's going to be close all the way through, I think. Oh, Proctologist Bum calls, makes a signal for call-offs. So we have Dandy Aid up against Topper Harley. This should be a good jam. Both are fighting, Topper up the front, Dandelion fighting through the pack at the back. It's getting a little bit washy and Topper Harley's through. Dandy Aid still fighting her way through the pack at the top apex and is through on her initial pass. Topper Harley's fighting, pushing up against that wall, trying to find a weak point or somewhere where he can cause a penalty, and Bandy Aid just slips through on the inside line. And a nice little pile up. And Bandy Aid just slips through again. Finds that inside line. Both jammers are just doing the rounds. Round and round they go. And Dandelion gets taken out by Smack, drawn back to the back. Topper Harley's coming round, looking at the inside line while all the blockers were distracted elsewhere. You can have eyes in the back of your head in this game sometimes. And he's through again. Dandelion just being recycled back. So still a really close score. Dandelion up against that wall, pushes through, and jam is called. So we're now sitting on 147 to the Trauma Queens and 144 to Quad Bombers. Very close. 3 points, which is absolutely nothing in Derby. So now we have Surgeon up against Giggs. Surgeon's trying to find that gap going up the inside line, falls over but manages to get up, caught by Lady T at the top and gets through. Giggs is on the outside line, trying to get past Hurdy and does so. Surge is coming in and calls it before Giggs hits that pack and earns any points. So we've got inbound bogey with a power jam. She's trying to distract the other team with her loud voice, gets pushed over and is drawn back by Melanoma. Side to side she goes, gets drawn into that wall. Quad Bombers are going to try and do some offense just to help. And it looks like Pest and Cuzzy have found a goat. So being goated is where you're a blocker, but you are being caught at the back by jammers on the opposing team. It's incredibly frustrating when you're stuck being a goat. Oh, we've got, Kidlet's pushing her way through. Nearly through, and then the pack catches up with her. And she calls it. Awesome jam. We may have had a... So we've got 18 minutes to go, 150 to Trauma Queens, 144 to Quad Bombers. Okay, so we have Alarm Bell up against Wingman. Both still fighting to get through on that initial pass. Both being held up by some pretty strong walls. Wingman's been drawn back. We're up around the top apex. No one has lead yet. Both jammers are pushing forward and then being drawn back. Just taking turns. And Wingman is through for lead. Alright, Hollywood's in the box. Alarm Bell is just completed her initial pass. And that Trauma Queen's wall's being strong. Jam is called. Still only 3 points in it. So we have Topahali up against Melanoma. Melanoma zips up that inside line. And Topahali round that outside line, gets her on his initial. Followed quickly by Melanoma, who's scored 4 points and calls it off. Prevents the quad bombers from getting any points. On close games like this, calling jams off to prevent the other team getting points is a valuable strategy. Okay, so we have Killer up against Polio. Polio's forced into that blue wall, with Killer fighting up against the white wall at the front. Both side to side Polio's through for lead jammer status. Killer's pushing through, gets through on her initial. Oh, a bit of a tumble roll on the outside. Calls it off. Okay, so we've got Proctologist Bum up against Kamikaze, both of which look like they've been caught by their respective walls, except for now Proctologist Bum's through for lead. Kamikaze's gotten through her wall, she's ground through on her initial pass. And Proctologist is calling it, trying to get some points before Trauma Queens, the quad bombers come through and score any. Yep, and that was close. We had Trauma Queen players who did not make the jam start line in time, and that's why some of them are being sent to the box. So we've got 2 Trauma Queen blockers on the track at the moment. Whoa! Okay, so Hollywood doesn't make her apex jump, but doesn't have to recycle, as Meds also tripped and fell. Even though there's only 2 blockers on the track, there's 2 blockers I wouldn't want to be up against. We've got Proctologist Bum served his penalty, he's back on track. Hollywood trying to scoot through. And she does for 4 points. No, she's off to the box. Gives Trauma Queens a chance. Penalty power jam. There's only 3 points in it. It's a good chance for them to even up that scoreboard. And Proctologist Bum right up that inside line. Round he goes. We have Trauma Queens on 162, Quad Bombers on 161. And he's straight up that inside line. We've got Hollywood back on track. She's trying to scoot through her teammates. And he's pushed out. And jam is called. Oh, 1 point. This is going to go down to the wire. And we have an official timeout. Okay, official timeout is over. So we have Melanoma up against Nova, I think, Wolfman. Everyone's got different names today. It's really screwing with me. So Melanoma's round for her lead. Nova's through for her initial pass. And we've got some hits out there. It's trying to stop Nova when she's on a run. So Melanoma's trying to whip through, gets through, and calls it. Back and forth this score goes. So now we've got Dandy Age up against full thrust. And they're off. And looks like we may need to quickly pull some tape off the track. So Dandelion's through on her lead jam. Proctologist looks like he's off to the box. Dandelion's through. 4 points. We may have a few in the box. The track looks a little emptier than normal. Yes, we've got a power jam. Dandelions coming round. Just zips through past that pack. And so we've got full thrust back on track. So power jam is over, both jammers are on. And full thrust fighting her way through that last jammer. Gets through for her initial pass. And jam is called. Trauma Queens have now taken a little bit of a lead, 20 points. Still not a big lead in Derby. One power jam can easily eat away at that. So we've got Hollywood up against Polio. Polio just dances up that inside line. Hollywood's dancing around, trying to get through the blockers. We have just over 7 minutes left. So it's going to be a close game all the way to the end. And Hollywood's through again. And jam is called. So we have Surgeon and Merlin. That's official timeout called. So we've got a swap around in the penalty box. Polio's just been asked to sit. So it will be a power jam for Merlin. So she's up against that wall, tries to push it to the outside. Gets some help from her blockers, but gets caught at the top. She's fighting past Meds and goes down and pulls herself back up. And she gets through for lead. And we have two Trauma Queens players back on, including their jammer. Melanoma doing some amazing offence. And a little bit of a apex jump. And Polio is round. Merlin's fighting through that Trauma Queen's wall. And the jam's off. Just over 5 minutes to go. Quad Bombers have narrowed that gap a little bit, 192 to Trauma Queens, Quad Bombers on 76.
What did you do? Knee? Is that your knee?
Okay, so we've got Goosticles up against Bandy-Aid. Goosticles has lead. She is trying to scoop around that outside and then inside, and got some awesome offense there from nobody. Dandelion's trying to scoop through, gets caught. Goosticles is on her lead and looking for more points. Scooting around the outside with some more offense for her. Dandelion gets through for her scoring pass. Oh, her initial pass. No, scoring pass. Quad Bombers are looking to trying to even up the score. And Goosticles calls it, trips over the rope and poses on the floor. So we're now sitting at 196 to 185. That gap is closing. I think some of our watchers at home are highly stressed, including some players who aren't able to be here. So now we have Bronchitis up against Cuzzy. Cuzzy's trying to push her way through that wall at the front. Oh, it gets knocked out by Hollywood. Cuzzy's pushing, trying to push everyone out of the engagement zone, and she's through. And we have a bit of a fall over at the... Bronchitis is still pushing, and he's through on his initial. Cuzzy will be looking to get some points. The pack is speeding up a little bit, trying to protect points. This makes it harder for Cuzzy to get round. Cuzzy takes a bit of a hit to her mum. We've got a few parent-child teammates playing today. And Bronchitis is off to the box for a cut. So we have a power jam once Cuzzy stands up. So because we can't have a game because we can't have a game without jammers. Just a little bit of confusion here. Let's wait and see what's happened. Typically when you have two jammers in the box, the one that was already sitting there will be released when the second jammer arrives, and then the second jammer will serve the same amount of time as the first jammer served, because we can't have a game with no jammers on the track. $11 points in it, just 2.5 odd minutes to go. So Swamp's next game is in Paeatua on the 2nd of September, if anyone feels like coming along to watch. If you're interested in following us, seeing when our games are, you can look up Swamp City Roller Derby on Facebook, and we always advertise our games via that venue. All right, so we're off. 2.5 minutes to go. And Cuzzy's off on a power jam. This could be pivotal for the Quad Bombers. They've got a 7-point differential to make up. If they can score some points on this power jam, it could even things. And Cuzzy is pushing through and gets lead. She'll be looking to get through, score some points. Oh, bit of a pile up, and we've got Bronchitis back on track. So he'll be trying to get through on his initial pass. Because he's fighting, pushing those players through. As each player gets taken out, they have to bridge, keep that link. Yeah, so just one of the streamers, we do have a few parent combos, so we've got 2 mother and daughter combos and two mother and son combos. So it's that second generation of Derby coming through, which is awesome. So Cuzzy is off to the box. Bronchitis was there. And he's back on track. And there has been a panty pass to proctologist Bum, who will be looking to get as many points as he can. And we've got the 3 players in the box at the moment for Quad Bombers. 2 of them have just re-entered the track. Proctologist Bum's just zoomed through to get those 4 points. Quad Bombers have called a timeout. Quad Bombers have called a timeout, which means that's another jam. So if a team has a timeout still allowed to be called and they call it in that last 30 seconds, that means that another jam happens. And in a game like this where it's so close, so it will be a last jam. We have Payne jamming for the Trauma Queens. This is her first game. And we have Wolfman, also known as Nova, jamming for the Quad Bombers. All right, let's see how it goes. All right, Trish has been guided into that wall. She's trying to push her way through. Wolfman's up the front, trying to push and do a swing round to get past. Both some tough walls to get through. Trish is pushing. Keep going. Wolfman's up the front. Oh, and she's been drawn back. And Payne nearly through. So close. Wolfman's through. On and is awarded lead. It's going to be exciting. And Wolfman is through for 4 points. Payne's pushing hard. She's trying to find those gaps, get through those walls. Here comes Wolfman around for some more points. And she's off to the box. So it is a power jam. And she has panty passed to Melodrama, who is pushed out. Somewhat recycled a little bit, but not all the way back. And round she goes. So we've got about 28 seconds left of this jam. So Melanoma pushing through that Quad Bomber pack, bounces round and through for 4 points. All right, right, Wolfman is back on track. She's gone through. Jam is called. And we have a whistle, just waiting for the scoreboard to update. We have an unofficial score, so we'll just wait for that final whistle to go. Just waiting. Just make sure there's no final changes to the score. Final score, 210 to Trauma Queens, 200 to Quad Bombers. Close all the way through. Thank you very much for coming to watch, for listening and watching at home. This is Swamp City Roller Derby and Saki signing out. We will see you next time in the world of roller derby. Thank you.